Holy crap, you're so fertile. That's not a question. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here for a Q&A today. I'm really excited to answer some questions. If you have more questions about these questions or the answers that I give, I would love to just read them in the comments, comment below, and I'll do another Q&A. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and just dive in. Okay, so question number 1, how do you balance all of your tasks while being the best mother? Business, pregnancy, and baby tasks. Okay, first of all, thank you for just saying best mother, because let's just be honest, there's definitely days where I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I am the quote unquote best mother all days. There are days where I feel like I crush it and I'm superwoman and I get it all done. And then there's days where I'm like, I got nothing done. I definitely don't feel like supermom on all the days. So thank you for just saying that. My answer to how do I balance all of these 3 things is I don't. I don't think I do. What I think I do well is, here's the honest truth. I let things flow. And what I mean by that is I let go of this idea of things always having to be balanced, because I realized that there are weeks or days where my schedule doesn't happen exactly as planned. And it's not because I didn't want that day to be balanced or that week to be balanced, but my kids got sick or something happened out of my control. So all of a sudden I had a day that was not balanced, or I had a week that felt not balanced. So I don't cling on to this idea of like having to be balanced every single day, 24 hours a day. Instead, what I do a lot, what I find myself doing is I check in, like at the end of a week, end of a month. I listen to my gut, and I do some internal check-ins quite often where I listen to kind of how I'm feeling in terms of overall balance. So I've had a lot of times in the last few years, my oldest daughter, Stella, she is gonna turn 3 very soon. And I've definitely had a lot of times in the last 3 years where I've just gotten that kind of intuitive feeling that something needs to shift. Things could be more balanced right now. So I'll just make changes. I'm always open to trying even better ways that work for my life, for our life. So I think the key really is be open to making changes. Be open to making changes to your schedule. Be open to just trying something, not being attached to how it goes, but just seeing how it works out. That's really helped me find my groove and just not cling on to like, is it gonna work? Is it not? You know, and so my schedule changes all the time, and I like it that way because I'm constantly improving. I'm constantly finding the balance for me that works well and the schedule that works well for me. And it's gonna change. That's the other thing I think a lot of moms and entrepreneurs, business owners need to understand. You're gonna go through different chapters of your life where all of a sudden you're gonna feel like you need more of this, or you're gonna need less of that. And I think it's just really important to honor those feelings instead of, you know, saying, well, I've been doing this schedule for a while, so I might as well just keep doing it. I think that's a way to dishonor your desires, and instead I prefer to just listen to when my gut is speaking and telling me something needs to change in terms of my schedule or whatever. So yeah, that's my answer to how I balance all of it. Next question. What was it like being pregnant with a baby at home? Good question. So just for context, so I am pregnant right now with a baby at home. 2 babies technically. I have Stella, who is almost 3 years old. And then I have Aria, who is 14 months. And I am 18 weeks pregnant at the time of filming this. So I am pregnant with a kind of 2 toddlers at home right now. When I was pregnant with my second one and Stella was the only one I had at home, here's what it feels like. For anybody that is thinking about adding a second baby, or you wanna have kids close together, here's how it feels. It's crazy, it's chaotic, it is beautiful, it is enlightening, And I use all those words because there were a lot of things that I had to be honest with myself about, like things that I would have done like my first pregnancy when there was no kids in the house. And then it's a whole different ball game when you have your second, because you're just more tired. Like you're not prepared for the level of just tiredness and exhaustion that you have when there's a toddler running around, and you're trying to keep up with them, and you're trying to take care of the baby growing inside of you. It's a lot. And so I rested a lot more than I did like my first pregnancy. And it's just important, just acknowledge that, like going into it. If you can just be aware that I'm gonna be tired probably more often than I was with my first, just knowing that is going to, I think, ease a lot of the maybe anxiety or the nerves around it. And then as you actually progress through the pregnancy, communicate as much as you can to the toddler. And that's something I do believe I and my partner did really, really well was, and I'm doing it right now again, is communicating with the already existing kids that, hey, mommy is tired. This baby inside of mommy is making mommy's feet sore, or, you know, mommy needs to sit down right now and have a little rest, a little breath, you know, things like that. I'm always just communicating with them instead of trying to deal with it myself and not let them in and distract them. I'm just really open. Like that's our household, is we're just really, really open with the kids. Even when, like, even if your one child is young and they don't really get it, I still find it's better, and even sometimes for your mental health, just to like feel like you're communicating how you're feeling to them. And it is really cool when they do understand. So like Stella, who's almost 3 right now, she is fully aware there's a baby in my belly and that it makes me tired, and I'll tell her oftentimes that mommy needs extra help cleaning up right now, and she's just the biggest helper. So I think it's just really important to communicate with the already existing child, because then they feel less alone. They feel less like, what's going on? Why is mommy different? Why is she more tired? Why is she, you know, more irritated today? You know, just communicate with them as best as you can. I thought that was beautiful throughout my pregnancies with kids already at home. Okay, next question is, when did you start traveling with them? So like with my kids. So with my first daughter, Stella, she was on 34 flights before she turned 1. This was pre-COVID, obviously. So she went everywhere, and it was the coolest year, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was amazing, best experience ever. We were going to do a very similar first year for Aria, my second daughter, but COVID happened. So her travel history is like close to non-existent, because we got stuck in Australia, which is where my partner is from, which is where half of my kid's family is from. So yeah, so that's a whole different story. But we started traveling with Stella, my first daughter, at 8 weeks old. So she was 8 weeks old. That was her first flight. And we traveled all around the US to go see family, because I have family in the US in a bunch of different states. So we did that. Then we traveled to, we went Hawaii for a few days, and then to Australia to see her side of the family in Australia. And we traveled a little bit around Australia, and it's a whole other story. But yeah, that's the answer. 8 weeks. We started traveling with Stella at 8 weeks. I would have done the same with my second daughter had COVID not happened. So I'm a huge advocate, and I can do a whole video on that. Let me know if you have questions. I'm a huge advocate for traveling with kids, with babies even. I actually think now, as a mom of a 3-year-old, I do think that traveling with newborns can be easier, is easier than traveling with toddlers often. So I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but I found that to be totally true. We breastfed on the planes. We just made it work, and I just think it's so cool, because we have all these pictures to show her when she's older of all the places she went when she was a little baby on these planes. I just think it's really cool, and that's the experience I want to give to all my kids. So as soon as we can start traveling again, our plan pretty much is too. So yeah. Okay, next question was, how are you feeling for real? I'm feeling good. Thank you for asking. I'm 18 weeks, like I said, 18 weeks pregnant with baby girl number 3, and I am feeling a lot more energized. I'm feeling a lot more like me. I am feeling less agitated and irritable. And I'm feeling excited about a third girl, because here's a fun fact. My grandma is, my grandma on my mom's side, she had 3 girls. My mom had 3 girls, so I'm one of 3, and I'm having 3 girls. So it's kind of a crazy pattern we have going on in the family, which is really cool. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. Okay, will your third baby be a Capricorn? I actually don't know. I know that's kind of funny because I'm big on horoscopes, but I don't know. I'm big on I know a lot about the horoscopes of people that I know. That doesn't make sense, but do you get what I mean? I know a lot about my horoscope. I know a lot about my sister's horoscopes. I know a little bit about my kids' one, but I couldn't say. I'm due at the very end of 2021. If I go late, I will definitely have a January baby, so maybe that's different than Capricorn. I don't know. What do you want your girls to learn from each country's culture? Right. So for context again, my kids, my daughters are all technically 50% Australian, 50% American, which is super cool. What do I want them to learn from each culture? I think the big thing that I find really cool between both countries is that I want them to learn that I think the Australian culture has such a beautiful laid back vibe. And specifically when I came to Australia for the first time, I was 19 years old. I came on a solo flight to figure out what I wanted to do with my life basically. And I met their dad 2 weeks after landing in the country, which is a whole other story for another time. Literally like a movie, like in a movie scene. And here we are with 3 daughters years later. Anyway, what I found was a big difference between the countries, and something that I respect is that Australians really place a focus on work-life balance. Like for example, the shops and the stores, they close at like 4 or 5 p.m. And I came from New York City. I was living in New York by myself, modeling and nannying and doing all kinds of stuff before I came over to Australia. And it was like black and white difference. I went from this city and this country where people were hustle nonstop to this city, Sydney, where it was still a city, but like there's these suburbs surrounding it, and it's just the vibe. Even the corporate workers, like the family that I was nannying for here in Sydney for a little bit, the dad worked in corporate, yet he was so relaxed, just like relaxed about going into work, relaxed about just work in general. And then I started noticing it wasn't just him, it's a whole culture here that people really put an emphasis on closing early, like shorter hours, more holidays it feels like. So I think that'll be really cool to see the girls learn, and I definitely want them to learn that about the different countries. Like America has, I don't think I would be who I am or where I am in life if I wasn't raised in the US, where we definitely are given and instilled that like work ethic, like very much, you know, American, like work hard to get what you want, versus, I'm not saying it doesn't exist here in Australia, but it's very different. It's like a lot more relaxed, like it's way more relaxed. So I think it's cool. I think that difference is cool. Okay, next question. So why doesn't Daniel wear the same clothes as you and the girls? That's a good question. For context, if you haven't been in my world for a while, I like to dress my girls the same because I can't help myself. And I often match them as well because why not? I have asked Daniel, believe it or not, I've asked him a good few times if he wanted me to buy him matching things that go with us and our looks and our outfits. Every time he's just politely declined, and he's politely said no. And it's not like the outfits are ugly, it's not like they wouldn't look great on him. He's just like, no, it's okay, you girls do your thing, you girls match. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know, he just doesn't have a burning desire to match the family, I guess. Maybe we'll change that. Okay, next question. How do I handle the naysayers? Oh boy, so again, I think this requires a little context. So I've been kind of putting myself on the internet, not in this way. I definitely haven't focused on YouTube at all, but I focused on Facebook, and I've been putting myself out on the internet mainly just to build my personal brand and market my business for like 4 years. So I have been on the internet for a hot minute, and I've definitely experienced some just normal people not agreeing with me, which is totally normal and fine. How do I handle the naysayers though that are nasty about it? I don't handle them. I just don't, period. And what I mean by that is, like, I go into this job every day that requires me to like share my life. I go into it knowing there's not gonna be people who agree with everything I say, and that's fine. And I just move on with my life. I just know that. I have that awareness, and I did always have that from day one of like choosing to build a personal brand and, you know, put myself out there pretty vulnerably on the internet and talk about things that oftentimes weren't talked about. I just knew that it was just part of the territory, that there's gonna be people that don't like it and are public about it, or they're very vocal about it. I just knew that that's part of the game. So knowing that helps you not really, I think, get affected as much by it. I think it's when you go into this industry that you don't know that, or you don't think it'll happen to you as soon as it can, then you can get affected by it. So I just went into this whole game knowing like, okay, I'm gonna put myself out there. There's gonna be people who love me, and there's gonna be people who don't. So I don't handle it. I have so much to do with my life. My life is so full. I have people in my life that love me and are obsessed with me, and I'm obsessed with me and I love me. So now I'd be lying if I didn't say that there are times when it has affected me for more than half a second, and it's made me step back and like question something for a minute. Sure, we're all human, but it gets easier the further and further you get into this game. The more you just put your face out there, you put yourself out there, you put your message out there, it gets easier. So that's my answer to that. Okay. Are you nervous about having the girls so close in age? No, I'm not. My first 2 girls are 20 months apart, and my second 2 are gonna be, or my middle one and then this third baby, they're gonna be 19 months apart. So I almost made the 3 under 3 club. I think I'm gonna be like 3 months short. Yeah. So I technically will have 3 under 3¼ years. So am I nervous though about having them close together? No, I'm not, because I've seen already, like with my 2 daughters right now, like I've seen them go from like one of them being a walking, talking human to the other one being a blob to being playmates so quickly. And I think that's amazing when your kids become playmates so soon, and then once they are, they just get closer and closer and more of best friends, and I just think that's so cool. So I think it's gonna be amazing to have 3 girls so close in age. I just think it's amazing. So no, I'm not nervous. Okay, next question. Do you have a name? Yes, we do have a name for baby girl number 3. No, we're not sharing it. That's one thing that I've always liked to keep private, even from family, and a lot of family don't like that. But I just feel like it's one thing that is just mine until the day, until she comes into the world. So yes, we do have a name, and we're super, super excited. Okay, next question. Holy crap, you're so fertile. That's not a question, but thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I do want to say this. Let me just take a minute to say I am so aware how blessed I am and grateful I am for this being my 3rd pregnancy and my 3rd living child. I mean, that's the plan. But what I mean by that is like I have so many friends, acquaintances, and immediate family that have not had the same fertility, pregnancy, childbearing experiences. In fact, they've had the opposite. They've had losses, they've had just traumatic experiences that required a lot of healing, and they're still healing from. And for that reason, I'm just grateful. Okay, last question is, did you always want a big family? Yes, I did. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm one of 3 girls, and Daniel is one of 3 as well. So both Daniel and I are from fairly, not huge, but we're from families of multiple kids, more than 2 kids. So I always knew I wanted at least 3. That was like a number that felt normal to me, since I know what that dynamic is like. So I wanted at least 3 kids. We're already there almost. So I don't know if I'm done. I don't know if we're done. We will see. I personally don't feel like I am. I feel like I will probably go on to have more. We'll see. But yes, I always wanted a big family. Okay, so that was it. That was the last question. Thank you so much, everybody who ended up asking these questions over the last little while. This was really fun and I liked answering them. If you have more questions based on what I said, go ahead and comment them below and I'll pick my favorites to answer in the next Q&A. And please subscribe if you have not yet. Give this a like if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.